Anyway, this is from a male advocacy point. It's got nothing to do against Gabby. No way. You wouldn't believe the stuff I said when it turned out she didn't run off with Rose, but, you know, when she was found. You wouldn't believe the stuff I uploaded and said. But it's starting to come out. Other people are commenting, and they have commented that they should have broke up. He shouldn't have killed her because she was a kid, a child. He was the adult in the situation. But he was a killer. So they did have fights. And she was, you know, the one attacking him. She couldn't get off the phone on their trip, possibly messaging to other people. She did use Bumblebee or Bumble to hook up with other people. That's how she hooked up with Rose. So the point is that abuse, it's not a matter of abuse. Abuse doesn't have to mean grabbing someone and beating them. It could have took place in small ways during their tumultuous relationship, like her running out with Gabby and leaving him at home repeatedly, her going over sleeping with Rose repeatedly, which probably hurt his feelings. They were planning to go up to Yellowstone. She was flying up and they were going to ditch him and go to Yellowstone. And that could have been what led to it. But as their finances run out, first of all, they were too young and immature to be retired at the age of 22, 23. They should have put it off, opened their own shop, sold some of their stuff and his stuff along with other people's stuff, and then got established with their online business and then took the trip. There's no way they should have took that trip. So trouble ensued. But anyway, just for the record, all family members, even Rose that would hang out with them, everybody said, we saw nothing as far as domestic violence. Little squabbles at their age, yes, but not domestic violence or anything like it over the years. We didn't see it. Even when they were on the trip and she was starting to be suspected of missing, and he flew down to Florida, Rose and others were reporting that he gets up, cooks her breakfast, she'll be okay up there, he's always there for her, he watches out for her, this, that, the other thing. She never had no marks on her. And nobody, even after she was found, when you would expect them to say stuff like, you bet, he was a monster. You know, even then they didn't say it. Even then they said that we didn't see anything out of the ordinary, that he would get pissed off at times. She would run over to go out with Rose, which he didn't like sharing her and having her run out and do what she wanted with him cut out of the equation. Well, who wouldn't be jealous of this girl? You know, there has to be some controls of some type. I mean, they were freshly engaged, and yet she was doing this stuff at that time. Stuff like that you allow to go on later, go out with your friends, don't be running around with men, picking up men. But freshly engaged and going out with Rose as she pleased, him objecting, that if Rose could speak to her now, possibly Rose would say, Gabby, it's too late. But possibly some of that stuff where we're pissing him off, us running around, maybe we should have just held back for a while and, you know, maybe been friends and everything, but not doing some of the stuff that we were doing. And Rose's pictures going out are quite graphic. As to what was going on when they went out. That being said, in the Moab stop, from a male standpoint, the cops should be charged that they clearly did nothing, even though they saw battered male syndrome. The female cop pulled Gabby over to the side. Even though he had the marks, they were going to run her to jail. But the female cop, of course, gets her to the side and says, you got to look, get rid of this bum, this toxic relationship. You got to get out while you're still alive. Okay, those cops had no way to know what was going to happen. They continued on their trip, uploading loving photos and videos. But instead, they separated them and let them go on. She didn't get arrested and run down because of her looks. Because of her looks and charm, even though she said she was the attacker. And the rest of the stuff from the video. So there's a different way to look at it. Possibly the cops should do an investigation to see, you were right there. It was battered male syndrome, her beating on him, these long tantrums, grabbing at the wheel on a highway where you both could be killed. She admitted everything. You said you were going to charge her, but you didn't because of her looks. So, see, there is another way to look at things. That you break up if you're not compatible. I mean, who couldn't?
But what's like the first thing that comes to mind when you did it?
Anybody would have treasured her. Anybody would have treasured her. So, if the cops would have done that, they would both be alive. If they would have spotted battered male syndrome, did a male cop get Brian off to the side and say, Brian, she admits she was beating on you, and she goes into these long tirades. She's very young and immature, and you're the adult. You got to start looking at your relationship as to whether or not you guys are compatible or not. Because what if this guy rockets out of control? If this keeps going on and on and on, what if this guy rockets out of control and something happens? No, they did no such thing. They did no such thing. Even with him having the marks on her saying she was beating on him, as was seen even back at the Moonflower. You see what I'm saying? You see the point that on their trip, they should have put it off for a couple of years until they got established, not retired at the age of 21 years old and decided to go off in this fantasy trip. He was the adult, but he had no control over her. In some ways, you could say that she walked all over him. And there's that type of abuse, to go out running around and say, well, if you want to keep me, you'll let me do what I want, or you're out of here, I can move on to about 20 different other guys or girls. So the main point of the upload is that to protect, also to be an advocate for the Moab cops. They did what they thought was right. But she was the one, and they didn't spot it. Well, she's good looking and she's charming and everything, and the woman cop gets her to the side and says, you've got to get rid of this bum. When his pictures, the videos, uploads, he looks very loving, and a lot of it's being hidden from the public, where he posted, it's not there because they removed it, but he uploaded, this was the greatest day of my life. I thank God. It's like being on a cloud when I met this girl. Get up, cook her breakfast. You get the point? You get the point? I saw nothing in those videos that he was a narcissist, abuser, wife-beating monster. However, he did what he did. And it got out of hand, and he did what he did, and the penalty is death to kill that girl. Death. And he did it. He did kill himself. So now that they're both dead, the thing to look at is if the Moab cops would have handled it different. Perhaps they should have spotted a battered male syndrome.